Okay, let's get into this very potent practice for using a wall belt system. You'll need to have your belt with a blanket around the belt, the inner line, so that we can start in an inversion. You also want a spare bolster, and that should be it for today. If you have a sandbag or a bag of rice, that might be helpful for the final inversion, but not required. So what you'll do is you'll measure the belt so that the length of it from the hook is going to be adequate for you to step into with the belt around your hip hinge, so it's going to be at the very top of your thighs. I want you to step your feet back to the wall so the heels are up, and you'll place your hands so they're holding onto the belt, and then try to slide your body so you reach your core bundle over the belt and the blanket that's inserted around the inside, so it acts as a cushion. Your feet are spaced in a width that you can then unwind and release your arms down. Now, something you might consider with this pose is the reach of your hands, the release of your spine, and the accuracy of which your structure is at. So it's important to be able to let go in your head, your neck, your spinal column, and to feel your ribs move with your breath. So we're in downward facing dog with complete assistance of the wall belt so that we can actually be in the shape for a long time. So you might be able to stay in the shape for 5 minutes. I'll abbreviate the shapes today so you have a good outline for practice. Completely surrender the weight of your head. If it's a little intense in your legs, you can always bend your knees, you can lift your heels up at the wall. That's a good way to work with coordinating the muscle stretch. It's a good compromise. Now, we'll take our hands in. We're going to walk our feet towards the hands, and you'll be in Uttanasana. Okay? So anything that's in this extreme forward stretch, I want you to kind of bundle up the experience of the heels digging down, the hands holding the elbows, and the neck relaxing. Let your head nod side to side. Now the arms draining, the knees bending, and then push down into your feet, push, and then round your back, and your hands could go above your knees, or they could be in air, but I want you to really feel that core balance when you lift up your spine, but also your ribs. So stand for a moment, taking your blanket off of your belt. You can toss that down to the wall so it's right behind your feet in this position. And then as you stand up, you're going to loosen up the belt quite a bit. Okay, go into loosening the belt all the way. And then send your arms up overhead. Step out from the wall and stand with the heels pressing out, the toes inward, so you have kind of this toe in, heel out position. Hands are up, reaching at the rib space. Okay. Lean into this as if you're at the edge of a ship, right? You want to really stretch with you're supported by your hands. Well, you're supported by your belt, aren't you? It's a lot of belt dependency. Now, bend your knees. We're going to walk on back, and I want you to actually let the belt be completely long, and you're gonna lower down onto your back and bring the back flat and your feet both into the belt, okay? Slide back so your head is onto that blanket. Feel your legs into the belt and let the weight of your thighs center your feet up into the belt, your arms spread open, and then as your legs swing side to side, you want to let this double swing go for about 10 times. 10 to 20 max. If it feels really nice, you might add a few each side, but encourage the weight of your upper back to relax into the floor, and then as your legs do that double swing to the side, feel the ribs contact. Let the hips move. I really get a feel of the hips moving, and so there's no restrictions on your rear staying down right now. The place that you swing into, that buttock does feel the floor, and the legs swing. Okay, now as you come back in center, after you've done as many as you like, bring your knees to your chest. It's nice to do as many as feels as you need to relieve your back, and alternate knees to chest 1 to 3 times. Use the belt so it really feels like it clutches the back of the leg, the lower leg. If it doesn't really feel like it holds that, don't let your knees go in so far. Now lower the left foot out of the belt and let the leg, that right leg, swing side to side. So we'll engage the right leg. Now your left leg could be straight-ish. It could be bend-ish with the knee pointing out in a half a Baddha Konasana. So you decide. Now if my leg is both straight, the question of my, do I keep my buttock to the floor? Well, you want to give yourself free range with the leg. That's key. So your shoulder blades are on the ground. Keep the arms down to the floor, both arms. Feel the movement of the leg. And then bring the left foot up, cross that left foot to the right knee. So you're in that habit of moving into your left hip stretch. And then bend your right knee, and I would let your leg stay hooked at the calf with your right leg in the belt. You could also move your belt to your foot, right? And feel the leverage change on that, because then you could work the hip a different way with your foot pushing into the belt, right? You could work your circulation around your sacrum differently. So you might play with that. But the basic gist of this would be left knee is open. Now knee draws in. If you have the belt near your calf, you might not do this action, but you'll hold to the back of that right leg and squeeze it in. Now you can kind of play with the differences. Probably not going to work if it's at the calf. Okay. All right, now take the left foot back into the belt, feel both legs into the belt, and that would be just above the ankles. Hands beside your hips. Press to lift your hips up. It's a bridge pose pattern. It's a lot of core balance in your posterior core. So when you lower your spine, I want you to lower the back of the pelvis, the buttocks, bring your knees towards your chest. Knees are out, feet are together, Baddha Konasana, bound angle, cobbler's pose. Feet together, knees apart. Now, arms are by your sides, so hands are stretching open. Now, when you push forward, I want you to start to lift your back up right as the legs are setting themselves straight. Then lower your spine, knees open, feet together. Try to get the soles together. Change sides, right leg slips out of the belt, left leg is up, arms spread out, and legs swing side to side. Now, one thing you could consider with this one is to make the belt shorter, right? Let's say you're in the shape and you notice that it's not as much stretch. You want a little bit more resistance. Just shorten the belt a little bit. It will make a difference. It'll change the intensity, change the leverage into the joint. You could give that a try. It might be useful. Now when you cross over, really work on that swing and that gait of the inner thigh. Okay, this is one where I am going quickly through this, but when you start learning these patterns and you decide not to watch the recording, you can make notes as to the sequence. You might take these a little slower and maybe hold it open longer, or take the cross over for more time. I'm just giving kind of a range of movement experience for you, okay? So when you come back in center, right foot to left thigh, and then bring that left knee in, right? You could see how having the foot in the belt is different than the calf in the belt, right? So the right knee is open, the hands could go behind the left thigh. You get to choose. But feel the sacrum resting to the floor. Feel the knee open. Breathe slow. Exhale completely. Arms anywhere. Hands are out, hands are behind the left leg. You decide. Hands could also be a support of right hand to the right inner knee and press it away. I don't want you to have the focus be the knee keeps getting closer to your shoulder. You're trying to promote opening that hip. Okay, now let go of any touch with that left or right leg. And then as we start to come out, we're going to bring our feet both into the belt and then take a final knees out, feet together. Feel the knees out. Feel the spine centered. Reach as close to your feet as you can, holding the belt. And then slip the belt out of your feet, their feet out of the belt. Okay? Help yourself to get up. Okay, now when you come up, using that belt as support to get there, you could have it so it's over behind you to get up. And then when you come around, I want you to move so your left foot touches the wall and you're either sitting on a bolster, which is really nice for this one, or a blanket, okay? If the bolster is a little bulky and slippery, you'll go with 1 to 2 blankets under your seat, okay? So sit up and stretch your left foot all the way touching the base of the wall completely. Hold the belt and reach your left arm up at the belt and lean into the left leg. This will be one where you get to take however much time you want to peel open the right side of the body, but lean into it is the key. And send the weight down into that left leg. Okay? Feel the right arm stretch over the side of your body towards your face. Your right hand could touch onto the belt. You could keep your arm in the air. You could also grab the belt, bring it over with your left hand, hold the belt with your right now, and then lean into that left leg with your hand. This is a good way to go with this. Of course, the shoulder will have its differences. It might feel like it's really squeezing around the shoulder joint, around the rotator cuff. This can be pretty intense. But it's something to work towards hydrating and mobilizing that, the rotator cuff, the muscles that form that. I think that's an important thing to notice, that if it can get grippy, a little bit of a nuisance, but it just feels like it's dried up, do some shapes that hydrate the tissues. Now, work on leaning into that left leg with the hold of the belt or without the belt. You choose. My right hand is on this right thigh. I can use a sandbag on the thigh or my hand pushing into that right thigh. So you might use your hand on the top of the thigh. You might have a sandbag on the thigh. You choose. Stretch down into leaning your left side downwards. A few more breaths. Remember, you can do this one as long as it feels useful. The right sitting bone starts to peel up usually, so the sandbag could be really helpful. Come up, and as you're switching sides, turn. So now rotate the right foot to the wall, and I'll have to switch over my blanket to that other side of my mat so they can sit easily to that support. It's important to have a blanket under your seat, and it doesn't have to be two, but it might be necessary that you have two if your knee is a lot higher than your pelvis, okay? So as I hold onto the belt, I want your body to be positioned so that your foot is under the actual hook, okay? That's important. So lean into the right side, let the body lengthen its side. Sand on left thigh or hand on thigh, either way, whatever you have. The most important ingredients though is the belt. Hooked at the wall, right? That's essential. All the other stuff you can do sometimes with or without. Hand can hold the belt, left hand could reach up and over. Lean into it. Take the time, if this left side is working on elongating the tissues, stretching, I want you to stay with this leaning focus, no twist. The twist would mean if you come up and you turn and rotate. This has been taught often, but right now we're going to stay and not do a counter pose, right? Stay with that leaning position. Stay with the side tissues. Pace your breath, regulate breathing. When you feel that you've had a good amount of stretch, you might alternate the arm that's reaching for the belt. You could play with that for a few moments. Right hand down on the leg, left hand up on the belt. Okay, and then when you come out, we're going to complete the practice today. It's a short one, but it gets all the good stuff, right? Your spine flexibility, and your leg mobility, your hips, your inversions. So you might come up next to the wall. You could have a blanket under your seat or not. You gotta get really close. You're gonna take the belt, and I would make sure that the belt length is, kind of so it's easy to let the legs stretch out, okay? So my seat is not all the way at the base of the wall. I could keep working closer, and I do want to get as close to the wall as I can. Okay, that's pretty comfortable. So here's the two ranges. You have your feet out, so you have that V, or you could move your feet away from the wall. You start with a V. Your belt is around the front of the ankle. Real important there. inside the belt your feet go. You step into the belt, your feet push out. Now as I push out, so my legs are up, right, up and out, up and out. Then I have my belt on the inside, but it doesn't change. I just don't want it to slip out. And then I'm going to bring my heels together and then slip down and then come into a reclining Baddha Konasana. Right? And this is great. It's an inverted Baddha Konasana. So it kind of holds the ankles. It's got a bit of a chokehold on the ankle actually. But this helps that inner thigh stretch. So I'm going to push into my legs, stretch my back muscles, and really regulate the spine stretch. So push legs towards the wall. It's true that if you're close to the wall, this would be probably the best to be as close as you can get. Really close. If your feet keep sliding down, great. Stretching the inner thighs deeper. Push into the legs. Be very interactive with your thigh circulation. This is only going to reverse the gravitational flow to the organs, but also the gravitational, that changes the direction of gravity in the legs, the lymphatic circulation in the groins, stimulating the immune system. Make sure the lower back is completely centered. Now as I let my legs move up, I'm going to slip out and then come back to the first position. This really takes repetition to get better at it, and it's very honestly true. Continue to practice. It'll get easier. Now feel the hands interlace the fingers at the roots. Stretch the arms back overhead. Inhale. And let go. Feel the arch of the spine. Real important. Feel the back muscles arching. Now set into your mental focus. Your spine is long, the back muscles are centered into the hips. And then bring your hands back forward to touch your knees. Help your feet slide down out of your belt. Hug them into the chest. Knees and all. And roll to your side. And let your feet be away from the belt to come out of your pose. Okay. So hopefully that was a very interesting sequence. It was very simple, however. So that gives you an idea of what you can do with a wall belt into the hook. And these, I used to call this suspension yoga. So it's basically the gravity game, right? Working with gravitational flow through the muscles, through the organs. And it's pretty helpful for the circulation in the legs because it's so dynamic, and then it kind of spirals into your pelvis, your hips, and then through your spine. And quite an advantage to the chest and the shoulders. I think with repetition, it gets a lot easier. So hopefully you'll come back to this practice again.